Oh, well, it's great to see you, dude. I love your mustache. It's the thickest mustache I've ever seen you wear, and it fits you well. Are you you gearing up for the winter, or what's going on out in
Yeah,
Philly?
I gotta stay warm.
Good
Just my
man.
lip though. Only my lip.
Yeah, that well, I
Um
get that. That's fine. You're a man of efficiency,
no,
and
yeah,
how's
for
band
sure.
morale for you and everything?
It's good, man. We're finishing up a record, a self-titled record. So it's exciting. I think band morale for every band on the planet was weird for a bit,
Yeah,
without being able to tour and everything. But coming off that, we're very lucky that we're still going, still be able to play shows and people still showing up and caring, and
totally, man. I
it's
mean,
great.
I'm always keeping tabs on you on the internet because you're just we see each other in real life maybe once a year at a festival or something, and you
Sure.
guys are
Yeah.
always a great hang. It seems like you have like really good friendship within the band, which is pretty huge, and probably the reason you're just what are you guys 6 years in, 5 6 years in, and you just go nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, as far as touring, yeah, we've been touring six or 7 years now, but I've been playing with Shane since I've known him since ninth grade. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
go way, way back. Yeah.
He's an amazing drummer, and he's one of those guys where he can like flip a beat upside down. And I'm not a drummer, I don't really understand math or patterns, but he'll like turn the beat upside down, and you're like, it sounds like beautifully fucked up, and you're
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it messes up your brain. But then I think that's kind of what you want, especially in alternative rock music, any way to just create corners in the songs and make people think a bit is really
sure.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny. We joke that we both think so similarly now musically. It's like he'll be doing a fill and we'll be jamming, so there's no rules, and he'll do a fill and I'll match it exactly accidentally with, the
Yeah.
guitar line. It's just from playing with each other for so incredibly long, and you start to understand, sensibilities and instincts. And I think he has some of the best instincts of anyone I've ever played with. And for that reason, he gets a lot of great studio work and does some amazing producing and arranging. He just knows what a song needs, and it's really fun to play with him.
Yeah, when you can communicate with someone telepathically in your band,
Hmm.
that's like the ultimate level. And
Definitely.
yeah, just you're talking about serving the song, and I think every musician goes through high school and college just like probably pretty frustrated that they probably have a drummer that overplays or wants to do like way too many drum solos,
Sure.
or just maybe I'm just speaking from my own personal experience, but this is everyone I've ever talked to. It's just, and you ask the drummer, you go, how about just like a straight beat here? And then they get
Totally.
offended, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
just to have somebody who can really serve the song is pretty cool. Do you have any advice for bands um, to just keeping a lineup together for multiple years, especially when you work as much as and as intensely as you guys do?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think like you said earlier, we are all good friends, and that is such an important piece of it. You have to be like-minded in some way, you know, um, and grounded, at least close to grounded in the same, morality, and it just comes with. I'm unbelievably blessed to have been playing with these same, lineup for as long as I have, because I
Hmm.
see how many times guys are dealing with a revolving door of musicians, and I can't even imagine teaching somebody that, the songs
Oh,
that
dude,
many times. It's got to be.
it's brutal. I
It's
mean,
daunting. Yeah,
when
sure.
someone quits the band, it makes you want to quit. You'll always
Starting
think,
from
well,
scratch in a lot
that's
of ways.
that's
Yeah.
the end, and maybe someone on the outside will be like, well, whatever, you can find a new bass player, or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, but can we find a guy who's good, who can also sing, who we can also tolerate in a van
Sure.
for
That's
3 weeks at a
huge.
time? So
You're
it's
you're going to be living with them in such close quarters. You
yeah.
need to you need to like them as a person. So I know how unbelievably lucky I've been with what I've been given, as far as band members, but I guess my advice would just be to know that you like the person first,
Have
and
you
then
had
everything
any
falls in line.
have you had any like notable band fights or interband quarrels that have brought you closer together?
we're like siblings. So quarrels happen all the time. And then it's just, we have so much respect for each other that it's, it blows off so quick. Um, but nothing ever super serious. We're usually pretty much on the same page on a lot of things. If we're not, we talk it out and we figure it out, and you pick your battles in the studio. Because it's three of us producing and arranging and doing all the things, and recording and engineering. And so there's a lot of things that might become points of contention in the studio, but you work them out, and you pick the things that are really important to you, and you be patient with the rest of it, but that's all grounded in respect. So
Yeah.
it really is as close to a family besides my actual family that I've ever had. It's a similar dynamic.
Well said, man. Yeah, picking the battles. I mean, that just extends to all aspects of life.
Absolutely.
I can think about like things with girlfriends, or with the band in the past, where I was just like a shitty communicator, or you pick stuff out that's not really a big deal, and you focus on it and you bring it up, and it just kind of wears away at the relationship. So
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think just bringing up concerns when they're notable enough, or grinding on you enough, and I guess you develop
Sure.
a barometer for that over time. So
Definitely.
what's the weirdest venue you guys have ever played? I'm sure you've got some good ones.
Yeah, no, there's some interesting ones. The venue technically wasn't a venue. It was ended up being a beach. We got this private gig for an event, a corporate event, like an upscale clothing company. I won't name the company,
Name
but
the company.
at the time, no. At the time, it was the most money we'd ever been paid for a gig. We were just a trio. They say, we'll pay you X amount of dollars, come play. We're like, okay, dude. I doubt they even know who we are. It was just sort of like an inbound thing to our booking agency, and they said, "Hey, here's Mo Loud and the Humble. Listen to their stuff. Maybe you might like them." They asked that we learned about 50% covers, so we learned some covers. Then we get the advance, and it's like there's no PA and no amps. All right, so now we're bringing 2 acoustic guitars and 1 tambourine, and we show up, and it's in the Hamptons, and we quickly learn it's basically like an influencer event.
The Hamptons, don't you just have to have like $1 billion just to get in?
Yeah, exactly. At the gate, they charge you $1 billion, and they say, "Come on in."
$1 billion and one soul.
Yes, exactly. And we paid that and more. So we get there, and we're the first ones there. We want to get there early, even though there was nothing to set up. And people are walking in. Everybody's just doing the phone thing, and it's all decorated with all these little, like, corners where there's a hashtag, whatever.
Oh, like everyone's doing selfies.
It's nonstop. Everybody's got their phone out. And like I said, we quickly realized it's all like influencers. So we finally, after about an hour of like cocktail hour or whatever it was, everybody goes to the beach, and there is a like a long table laid out with just pillows all around it, with a dinner being served for these people. And I think it's in the fall. I think it was like September. So it's windy. We are standing, us three, 2 acoustic guitars and a tambourine, downwind from these people that are just eating this meal. Like, are they playing?
Yeah,
Could
totally.
not hear a note we played. We played for probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops, and took our money and went home. We were like, that was the most bizarre
Holy shit.
experience.
Yeah, those days where
the looks we were getting, like, what are they? I think they're playing the Tom Petty song.
Where you show up to a gig and people just look at you like you're Jeffrey Dahmer, They're like,
yes.
Whoa, who is this?
Yeah. It's like, you hired us.
Yeah, man. I think what was the band banter within your own circle of bandmates? Were you just cracking jokes? And
we were dying. Yeah. I mean, we could have been playing any song on the planet. We could have been replacing the lyrics. We could have been doing anything. No one would have noticed. It was absolutely, those are the ones you just like, they're the pride swallowing gigs where you just laugh all the way to the bank, because you're like, we would never make that much on a club show.
Yeah,
at that point where we were at. So it's so funny again, picking your battles, what you have to deal with as far as playing some weird shows.
Corpo rock. Yeah, it is weird how like the more money is involved, the less people give a shit. Or like
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
anything, anything in the world, it's like
Absolutely.
the more money you have, the less interested in arts you are. That's just, I mean,
Mm.
I think that's just a general socio-economical theory, or maybe it's not even a theory anymore. I don't know. I guess when you're pursuing cash, like so cutthroatly, if that's even a word, there's just less time for rock and roll.
Definitely.
I had a buddy who played a gig for Amazon, and just
Hmm.
I think I might have told the story on the podcast before, but just long story short, he like got there. Bezos was supposed to come and like hang out, and so he's all excited, but then Bezos ends up just walking right by where he's playing and walks directly onto a helicopter and flies off into the night. And my buddy is doing the gig. He's like, well, he's so curious. He's like, well, what kind of music does Jeff Bezos listen to? And then his assistant, his handler, looks at the my musician buddy, and she just looks at him confused and goes, well, Jeff doesn't listen to music. He doesn't like music. And that was it. And which makes so much sense.
Of course, that guy
So
doesn't like music.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
Um,
funny.
what about any notable have you gotten you guys played overseas? Have you played any weird overseas places where maybe you got served some freaky food where you just kind of had to choke it down out of respect?
Sure. Well, actually, I enjoyed the freaky food. And I didn't realize how freaky it was until after consuming it. So, we did Europe in 2019, and it's like a thing. Well, first of all those venues just take unbelievable care of you.
Sure.
And each place you show up, they have cold cuts and snacks and whatever you want, and then they put you up that night and in these great hotels or cool hostels, and they just do it right, which many places in America don't. But so we're in I guess Switzerland, and delicious cold cuts, making little sandwiches, and sure enough, that the one was horse. I had never had horse before.
Was it like like deli's thinly sliced deli horse?
Incredibly, yeah,
Wow.
incredibly thinly sliced. It was almost like prosciutto.
Man,
It
you
was
would think when you
delicious.
think
I
horse
was
meat, you
like,
would
all
just think
right,
it would be a brick of horse,
yeah,
like a
give me a brick. I'll
steak.
take 2 bricks of horse, please.
I'll
But like
take
after
two.
the fact, I was like, okay, yeah, that I'm a little bummed I ate a cute horse, but
But it was
it was
good,
delicious.
hey?
It was, yeah. And if I had known up front, I'd probably still eat it.
Yeah.
I would have eaten it.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's just conditioning to what we're used to in this country
Absolutely, yeah.
specifically. Because, like, I was down in Mexico City earlier in the year, and one of the standard appetizers down there is cricket tacos.
Whoa.
And we were out with these some Mexican friends of ours, and they were so excited to eat these cricket tacos. And I'd
Crunchy?
never had. They're crunchy, dude.
Oh yeah.
And they come to the table, and these locals were so pumped. They're like, "Wow, this is my favorite!" And they
Whoa.
snarf. I had one. It was quite tasty, but it's just so tough to get over the texture, and you're
Oh
visually
sure.
looking at a dead
You
insect and
does it,
watching.
it okay, so it's you're looking at like
Yeah,
they're right on there.
it wasn't
It's not like
ground
a
up.
okay, gotcha, yeah.
I had heard about some places in the U.S. like some more kind of hippie organic food places doing ground up cricket because apparently it's amazing for you, high protein. But
Hmm,
yeah, it's so it's just psychologically a weird
totally.
thing to get your head around. But I mean, I lived in Asia for 2 years, so I ate cow eyes, stallion
Sure.
cock, the whole thing. I mean, it's in soup, and it's cooked and
Right.
they sneak it by you often you don't always know what you're getting, like in your case, so to speak. But
Right, right.
yeah, the Swiss, man, bricks of horse meat and cold cut deli cheese. It's a good place to be.
Absolutely.
Have you guys had some good luck over there? Have you played in any like weird castles or anything?
We played some amazing places. There was one spot in um uh Basque country in Spain. That was I mean that place in general is just unbelievable. It's like coastal, just it looks fake. It looks like another planet. And then that was funny because they only speak Basque there, which is unlike any other language. So I'm used to
Basque, Bask.
Basque, Basque,
Oh,
if I'm not
okay.
mistaken. Yeah. So I Googled the hell out of it after being there. I was like, it's this little pocket of Spain, and they have their own language. and it is nothing like Spanish. It's actually closest. It's really not closest to anything, but it'd be closer to French. So I'm used to just trying to get by on the tiny bit of Spanish I remember from high school for, a week. And we end up here and somebody starts speaking to me very kindly. And I'm like, oh, I didn't catch any of that. That is not. And then I was informed that that's because it's not Spanish. I was like, well, every rule I know about Spanish is out the window. But yeah, it's really fascinating. It's like its own world. It really is.
Yeah, I've never got over to Spain and France, but I've heard Spain in particular is incredibly kind for rock and roll music.
We had some of our best shows there for sure.
Really, that's awesome.
Zaragoza was amazing. Yeah, it was great. It was a good time. We played some interesting places. You don't quite know what you're getting into. So there was like Tuesday night shows. In the Netherlands where you're playing like upstairs at a music store to seven older people. And you're like, oh, okay, this is touring Europe. But then you have some places where literally in Zaragoza, we were about to play in 15 minutes and I took a little bit of an eye break and I dozed off. And from the time I started my doze to when I woke up, the room went from 10 people to 200.
Wow.
In that short amount of time, like people just show up right as the band goes on. And so that was kind of an interesting thing too.
Yeah, mind fuck. There's nothing scarier than like looking behind the curtain and seeing 7 people, 10 minutes before you go on.
The worst feeling. And I just assume even like we could sell 250 tickets pre-sold, and I just assume they're all not coming.
Yeah, dude.
Like that feeling never leaves you.
Chris Caraba from Dashboard Confessional was on here last year, and he said he's even at their level, he's terrified to look. He said he would never look around the curtain to see who's there because he still has like hallucinations or nightmares that like no one will be there, which is so it's like this weird, must be this weird PTSD thing from, almost everybody starts on the toilet bowl circuit. So the PTSD from the trenches of the toilet bowl circuit,
circuit. I like that.
Yeah, it all like, I mean, maybe I'm just saying this to make myself feel better. Like something to me seems so much less interesting than than playing the same type of room every night, knowing there's going to be like 500 people versus like an ego check on a Wednesday, playing in some like graveyard garage warehouse, like in a parking lot to just keep you in check,
Totally. Bring it back down. I mean, it's nothing if not just like a constant wave. We sold out Mercury Lounge in New York, which is like 200 people one time. And then the next night we played in Bridgeport, Connecticut to 8.
Yeah,
like, we're not that far from New York. Maybe that's why we shouldn't have played it. But
I don't think anyone's that far off from a soul crushing show. Like even bands, above what we're doing, it's like they'll tell me, it's like, yeah, I mean, we played in Baton Rouge last week, and I got hit in the head with a beer bottle, and there was 29 people there, and they've been famous 90s bands that have had hits, so
right
it's I don't think, if you're out there doing your own thing, whether it's music or anything, really, like you can't get down on a good evening of low morale with a heavy ego check.
Gotta live in the middle. And that's the thing too, like you said, it's never going to end. And also it's a sliding scale. We used to be, I remember the first time that we played a town and that we hadn't played before, and there were 50 people there, and we're like, what?
Yeah.
We're all singing our words. We're like, this is nuts. Who are all these people? Now you have 50 people and you're like, bummer. What? I guess we got to wait it out, another year and a half to play here, run some more digital ads. Like it's so funny how quickly I have amazing gratitude for the small crowds and like how intimate that can be. And my thing now is just like, get right up here.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't buy these tickets to stand in the back. That's weird. And we didn't get in our van and just drive 1,500 miles across the country to play to you in the back.
Totally, man. That's a great call. I think, there's always a good way to bring people to the front of the stage, even if the room isn't packed. And I've seen you do a great job with that. And oftentimes the room is packed for you guys now, which is awesome. And I think on your comment there, the barometer of success just is like such a sliding scale, you know. So
Absolutely.
um, it's always teetering, and it's okay if you don't have a home run out of the park every night. Tell me
Sure.
about the. Are you guys pretty? It seems like you're pretty savvy. I know you have a booking agent and then the whole thing, but it seems like you're pretty savvy on your own as far as kind of the DIY ethos and like doing some of the shit yourself. You talk about like digital advertising. Is that something that is that your department in the band? Do you handle that, or is
I
someone?
do all the social media. Yeah.
Okay,
But Shane effectively basically managed the band up until about a year ago. And now our booking agent also manages us. So we're kind of all in on it. It's really an interesting thing where all four of us have our own jobs. Jeff does merch. Kirby does an unbelievable job with all the content, and he's a very talented, cinematographer and editor. Shane handles a lot of the day to day and the advanced stuff and everything with Washburn. So we're on conference calls all the time with every
that's
band
cool.
member. It's not like there's one guy that just plays, whatever instrument. It's very involved, and we're constantly trying to cook up ideas as a team. Which I'm not gonna lie, like the marketing and the business side of music is easily my least favorite part. I think that's for all of
Hmm.
us,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it is a part of it. You have to embrace it. You have to roll with what's happening now. Um, as much as I despise some of it, it's a part of it. You got to get the word out.
Do you have faith in the in like the Facebooks and the Instagrams as far as digital marketing shows? Like, say you're playing Ann Arbor in 2 months. Are you? Is that something that's effective? I want to have faith in it. I lost a bit of faith in it earlier in the year when my Facebook account got hacked, and there's no
Oh,
recourse for getting
oh,
that fixed. So it
oh,
spooks me.
Facebook's done that
It's
to us.
shit.
It's
Yeah.
brutal. It's
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
The process is horrible. Yeah, we've had our ad account pulled down a couple times for
False
mistakes on their
flags.
end.
False
Yeah,
flags all
God.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can never speak to someone directly.
No.
Shout out Facebook. Um, but no, sorry. What was the question? Was the
Oh, do you have faith
oh,
in
sure,
digital
yeah.
ads as a way to get people to concerts?
They used to work a lot better. So now when you log on to an app, which I understand, people's privacy is important, but you can ask app not to track your info. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, a lot of these parameters that we were using to track folks, just based off what they like, you know what I mean? Um, Other bands that they like, if they've liked our page, if they bought our record, if we have their email, whatever, all these parameters that help target people for ads, a lot of them are out the window because people are asking the app not to track that anymore.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
makes it a little more difficult to really hone in on people. And good click rates are like, I mean, if you're getting like one click per like, I think like any click rate basically under like 50 cents is good now, which
Yeah.
seems insane. That's just a
Yeah.
click, not
Yeah.
even a conversion, not even somebody
Yeah.
who went and bought the tickets. So you have to constantly level with like, all right, we're putting $50 into this show. That pays for itself if three people buy tickets.
Right.
Boom, paid for, which is annoying to up front. You're like, man, we're dumping a lot of money into this stuff, especially when you have a
Yeah.
25 show tour. But you just hope that it works out on the other end.
Yeah. And there is a little bit of blind faith you have to have in that on
Oh,
some
sure.
degree. Um, yeah, man. And with tech constantly moving so quickly now, it's like, you spend so much time learning the Facebook ads platform, which takes a long time to get good at. And then boom, a year later, it's a totally different
Yeah.
animal, or the audience has shifted to some other platform, or privacy settings get changed, or the
Yep.
software gets updated and it's fucked and all your data is fucked. So I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to hear what your kind of long term like music kind of marketing for shows is, because I know the only thing that's consistently worked well for us is like the email list, which I've
Yep.
been building religiously since the first time I ever played a solo gig 10 years ago. And I just passed that shit around at every single show we ever do.
Yeah.
And but even you send out an email to 12,000 people, even if it has a
Sure.
30% open rate, which I think is pretty good. I mean, most people aren't reading those emails still.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
So
what do you think?
yeah, I mean, we emails are king as far as data collection on fans. There's no doubt. Um, we also are part of or we pay for a text service where the band effectively has a number where you can reach us directly. And then therefore people are split into where they live. So you can say, hey, Baltimore, we're coming through, and you will get a text from Mo Lauda. And it's us
Ooh.
crafting these texts. Now it was $99 a month. Now it's $199. So it's not, we're still building that. And it's very hard to get those numbers without being, we don't want to be spammy in any way. You know, it's really a difficult dance to do. We want to engage our fans, but you don't want to be like, hey, give us your phone numbers. Like, you know, it's there's ways to do it where it's you got some dignity about you.
Yeah.
But I think emails and numbers will always be, no matter what happens social media wise, those two things are always going to be super prominent as far
Yeah.
as getting the word out.
Well said. I love that you're into this stuff, because there's not many musicians who enjoy talking about this.
Like I
this
said,
kind
it's
of
not
stuff
my
with me.
favorite. It's
Yeah,
not my favorite part of music,
but you
for
know
sure,
stuff,
but
and I appreciate
yeah.
that. How did you start the like get building like the text message database? Do people like, do you have a hotline and then fans call in and there's like
I think
unreleased songs or what?
there is like a message that I think Jeff recorded. When you call it, it's some goofy message that he left. But I think we just started putting it out on Instagram and just
Okay.
saying, hey, do you want to be in direct contact with us? Do you want to be the first person to know about when we're coming through? Like, text service and email always knows, even before, like, sometimes when the ticket links go live.
Yeah.
So basically just trying to get those super fans involved right off the
Right.
bat, because you always have, you know, your core group of friends who will do anything to just to know about what you are doing and be in the know and be the first to know. So we did that, and then we've done other things. We've done street team stuff, made a goofy video with Street Sharks. You remember that show back in the day? Where we're asking people, you know, in their respective towns to help us out, whether hanging posters or whatever. We always give them free tickets.
Yep.
Oftentimes I end up meeting those people and talking face to face with them. And I mean, there's so many different ways to grow the network. And like I said, the hardest part is just making it not feel spammy. And
Yeah.
hopefully, and I say all the time, I'll write captions on things, and I'll say, people ask all the time, how do they help us? People are like, you guys should be so much bigger. I'm like, great, that's amazing. I thank you so much for feeling that way. How can we help? Literally tell your friends, buy a record, buy tickets to the shows, post on your story, whatever. There's no like golden ticket.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how you help other than just being stoked and being involved and spreading the word. Because I listen to music when a friend says, yo, you got to listen to this.
Yeah,
That's when I
totally.
listen to something, you know.
Man, that is really beautifully said. I mean, I think sometimes people don't know the power they have in helping like an indie band
They have
along, you
all the
know?
power.
Because
Literally
if you
all the
think of
power.
something like voting, it's like, oh well, shit, my vote doesn't mean shit. There's whatever millions of people, maybe, yeah. But if you're in little band indie band rock world, like you
Oh
telling
yeah.
one buddy, you buying 2 concert tickets
Yep.
and a vinyl record and signing up to someone's email list, it's like that
That's
carries
everything.
enormous
Yeah.
weight. And shit, I mean, I don't know what's on your face. Maybe you got what 25,000 followers on your Instagram. If like every one of those people took 30 seconds to send like your Spotify single to a buddy they thought would believe in it, like
Yep.
that would be explosive, you know?
That's the thing. And I talk to people at shows all the time who ask the same thing. I say, we had X amount of people here tonight. If you guys bring 2 friends next time and everybody else did that, like our numbers would just explode, you know? I don't know how many times we've ever sold 150 tickets and then doubled up the next time. It doesn't happen that way. It's, you know,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
inching. But it's really just about that and word of mouth, you know.
Yeah, I think that used to happen where there was just less things happening, you know, and I think
Sure.
bands could just grow astronomically faster. But shit, I apologies if I said this on the pod already, but I was talking to the promoter who was doing our Austria shows on this last run, and he was just saying how simple it was in the 90s, because there was only two ways to promote a show, and it was you hang up a shitload of flyers and then you try to get some spins on the radio, and it was
Yep.
pretty simple. And he said you got a couple spins on the radio and you hung up flyers, the room would more often than not be respectively full, if not sold out. So
It's wild.
um, yeah, it's good that you're on your toes with this stuff and constantly trying to be proactive about it, because you have to. And it's like,
You really do.
I
Yeah.
mean, on the you talking about your super fans, it's like I reach out to those people directly. Like if we're playing, Detroit, and we're playing Detroit on a Wednesday, and I'm like, fuck, this is going to be tough. If we don't have some super fans help us rally,
Sure.
three or four people each, we might be in trouble. And then they generally come through. You ask them, and they pull through for you. So,
Yeah.
I think you can't be afraid to ask for help in
No.
any arena, not just being a rock band.
Agreed. 100% agree.
Was there a time in your life where you were um, maybe less good at that, or maybe were more of a control freak? I know I was. It seems like you're pretty good at delegating.
Um, we've only had like one or two times where I see a message go out and I just know it's not in my voice or our voice. And I'm like, all right, now everything's just got to pass through just to
Yeah.
make sure, it doesn't sound like something we would never say.
Sure.
But those are few and far between, and they don't happen anymore. But yeah, like I said, I'm far more of a control freak, and I think we all are as far as like the actual art itself goes. With this stuff, yeah, you don't want it's tough with the TikTok stuff. I'm not ready to be, POV, you're in a band and your new single just dropped. And then it's just us in a car, like listening to it. It makes
Please
it
don't.
makes me so fucking sad. But that's a thing. That's like there is a format to it. There are things that work on that app, and there are things that work elsewhere. And I'm just like not ready for any of that. How far are you willing to go and still feel like yourself and still feel like you're
Yeah.
not selling out? But like I said, I've always felt like it's a tool, and I think indie musicians who think they're gonna just get huge without utilizing any of that stuff,
Yeah.
they're kidding themselves straight
Yeah. I
up.
mean, you
It's
got to
part of the game.
ask, like, what's the price of your own sanity, And
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's a threshold of hours in a day where you work past 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever the number of hours is, and you're working, but you're no longer accomplishing anything because you're burnt out, and or
Sure.
your brain isn't firing correctly. So especially in a creative endeavor, it's like how much time can you keep on the docket to keep making stuff? Because I mean, we've all been to points in our careers where we're like clearly working on too much administrative work, where like
Sure.
the actual art is suffering.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if you're not making good shit at the core, then you might just be where are you going? Or you're just creating corn syrup for TikTok that gets clicks, but no one sticks around for the long haul.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the balance is key. Like at the end of the day, you really just have to be creating stuff that you like and that you think is cool and that you hope other people think is cool too. There's no other way around it. It sounds cliche. But as long as you're true to that, and then the content you create is still in line with how you want to portray yourself and how you want to brand yourself, then you're fine. And I think that's what we've always done. And there are times where I'm like, man, I just spent X amount of hours, working on getting our Instagram all up to date and ideas for reels and all this stuff and updating the website and things like that. And I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I already wrote the album. We already recorded the album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I'm very much like albums are a chapter of my life. And I feel like we're in a good spot just because it's like, all right, it's done. It's recorded. We're in
Yeah.
mixing and mastering phase. Now, how do we get this message out? Now let's package it, which
Yeah.
we've, I think, never quite done to this extent. It's like, oh, album's ready. Oh, hurry up. We got to print vinyls. Okay. We got to start posting about it. Now it's like, no, we need a plan. Let's
Yeah.
get this thing in the right hands and let's get it, let's get it the proper amount of ears that I think it deserves.
Yeah, well said. I mean, almost like chopping the year up into quarters and doing like a different task each quarter, you know.
Yeah,
I think
for
that will
sure.
help. Yeah, just help keeping organized and keeping sane. I remember some like older songwriter giving me like advice, like you got to be writing every day. He was talking about, you know, songwriting. You got to be writing every day. You know, you got to keep the tools sharp. And I have come to disagree with that because
I
if I
agree.
was
Yeah,
trying to write songs every day, most of the songs would just go into the graveyard. No one would ever hear them.
sure.
I wouldn't have been able to do a book. I wouldn't be able to paint, and I would just, I don't know, just be a graveyard of digital lo-fi cell phone
Absolutely.
audio. So I think breaking up the types of work you do in big chunks is seems to be the move.
I agree. I mean, it's a luxury. The fact that, because we are still touring and, there's still enough money coming in where you don't have to just be go, go, go all the time, which is an amazing thing. We did some recording on the road too, and I had enough time to write during COVID and even when we started touring again. I love that there's multiple camps of songwriting and I'm fascinated by them all. I go down just YouTube holes all the time. I want to know what every songwriter that I like has to say about songwriting. It's my favorite thing in the world. I just want to study the hell out of it. And there are some people who come from the camp, like you just said, every day, treat it like a job, wake up 9 to 5, have some coffee and write. And even if shit comes out, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's allowed. Graveyards are allowed to exist. My graveyard still exists without writing that much, without writing every single day. I will go 3 months without writing a single song, and then I will write 10 in the next month, and
Mm-hmm.
8 of them end up on a
Yeah,
record. That's
exactly.
just how it works, and it's like floodgates moments. And then there are times where you're just like, no idea I have right now. I don't have a message right now. I don't have an
Mm-hmm.
idea to run off of. And then you find these kernels at some point, and the floodgates open, and then you just have all these songs that come out of the ether, and that's the magic of it. As much as I would love to just get up every day and write, it's not how I work. Everybody, it's art, and everybody works differently. Everybody, it's completely a product of your mind and
Oh
yourself.
yeah.
It's Everybody's got a different way of going about it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. When the floodgates open or when it rains, get, you know, just being ready with the buckets to catch the
Oh
rain, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah. I
sure.
mean, thank God for voice memos. Like you said, I have plenty that I like. I end up going back to, or I'm like, oh, that was a cool idea. Or you end up going back, and you're like, what was I on for that one? That is horrible. But like you said, having that bucket ready to go, and just understanding like they come in such little clips, and being like, all right, I got to get this down real quick. But what about this other idea? Well, all right, let me get that one down too. Just so
Hmm.
you're not pushing anything away just because you're so focused on the one.
Yeah,
I write.
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I write one verse and one chorus. I get stuck. Okay, graveyard. One verse, one chorus, another verse. All right, graveyard. Bring them back
Yeah.
in. Start writing. Like bring them to the dudes. Where are we going with this one?
Dig up the grave.
Oh man, it's
I think
great.
it's important to dig up the graveyard of tidbits of songs maybe
Oh yeah.
twice a year. Go through, you know what I'm talking about. Like go
Mm-hmm.
through those voice memos,
Yep.
put an asterisk next to the riff or the lyric or the part that's good, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have you can resurrect kind of the bones into a new song, like the greatest hits
Yeah.
of all your, you know,
Yeah.
it's like a Frankenstein.
Absolutely. I mean, and then you're coming at it. So the EP we just put out with Mo Lauda, both of those, the original ideas for the two singles on it, were like 4 years old. Went back in. One was much more fully formed and realized than the other, but going back in as 4 years later, much more mature person and songwriter, and the life experience since then, and just the experience in the studio, it's like you're a new person taking on, a past self, and like
Yes.
a it's like your future you, kind of rearranging the song and taking a current approach to what you had previously thought was the coolest at the time, and now you're like, no, this I can make it
Totally,
better. I
man.
can make it
It's
way
like
better.
Jordan 3.0 being the editor of Jordan 2.0, you
Yeah,
know?
it is
It's like,
self-editing, but half a decade later,
yeah,
it's
like
interesting.
Jordan 2.0, like he was probably coming up with riffs that Jordan 3.0 wouldn't even think of. but it just
Totally.
needed a little massaging and some tenderizing, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a good
yeah,
way to put it.
I don't know. Maybe yeah, maybe there's something there. Um so what kind of when's your new record? What phase are you in right now before the new record? Are you in you're in packaging mode, like you're pressing vinyls and all that kind of stuff?
Not quite yet because it's not all mastered. When will this podcast come out?
I think next Tuesday.
Okay.
Coming
So we'll
this
be
coming Tuesday.
announcing all the details on the album quite soon.
Okay.
But basically, we have a 12-song self-titled record that we'll be putting out early next year, and singles leading up to it. So we'll be announcing that very soon. And it's in we're very close. It'll all be mastered by the next, within the next 2 weeks. So the mixes are like, one that one line of the first verse could
Yeah.
be 1 dB
Yeah.
louder. That's where we're at right now. It's
Oh,
just
the
the
wanting to kill
polish.
yourself phase of
It's the oh
mixing.
man, it's like I will never listen to these songs ever again. But then you get the finished product and you're like, oh man, all right. Well, once it's fully realized and all the bells and whistles are part of it, it is such a different listening experience after especially being something you created. You can never fully remove yourself ever, but
Yeah.
from that first board mix, rough mix to the final mastered product, it's always like, all right, cool.
Are you doing anything like outside of the music? Are you doing anything differently with this album campaign as far that you haven't done in the past, as far as promotional stunts, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just gonna try to do it right, so to speak. We have a huge list of content that we're gonna try to put out. We're working with a distribution company, and luckily we have some money behind it. We're doing a radio campaign. Um, we're bringing other people in, which we have not done to this extent prior.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford it prior.
Mhm.
That's the reality of being an indie artist, and we're very lucky to have a little bit of money behind this thing, and just hoping, like I said, it hits the right avenues. You don't know that. So,
Yeah.
you
It
can
is a
do all
little
the
bit like playing
PR,
the
you can do all
lottery.
that. It is. It's so difficult to know what will hit. That's the main difference. Other than like sonically, it's way different from anything we've done. Not way different. Everything's always going to be rooted from the same place, but we're using a lot more elements that are you won't find on the previous records.
Yeah, man. I mean, speaking of like trying to raise funds for an album campaign, it's like I think I've put out, I don't know, four records, full proper campaigns in the past 10 years. And it's like I don't really it's pretty hard to get anywhere with less than 50 grand. I feel like that's kind of a number you need as far
Yeah,
as like promoting, hiring a publicist, helping, touring, the cost of printing vinyl, the whole
sure.
thing. I think that is like, and that's a number that is probably going to be pretty discouraging to some people. And I don't mean you need that to release an album and release it effectively, but I think if you want to have kind of a shot in the quote unquote music industry or the
Sure.
game or whatever you want to call it, to do a tour and an album cycle, that it's like you kind of have to shoot for somewhere around there, in
No
my
doubt.
experience.
I mean, yeah. I mean, from there's so much to be said for slowly building a base, and that's kind of Molada's always just slowly kind of creeped upwards, and it's always felt like an ascent. Never felt like we took any steps back, but it has been slow and gradual. You know, and that's the same principle for the amount of money that we put behind these records too. Now, of course, there's ways that you can get a little bit of luck. I put out that solo record, and the one song got on Your Favorite Coffee House, which
Nice.
that editorial playlist, which has 4
Is
million.
that a Spotify playlist?
Yes, 4 million followers on that playlist,
How
and then
many
everything else fell in a row.
how many streams does that song have, you think?
That song currently has 12.8 million streams. It
No
gets
way.
it gets like 25,000 a day
Oh
just
my
from those
god.
playlists. So now you have that, which is unbelievably lucky. Um, Also, it's a strong song, and it fits right in line with a lot of the stuff on those playlists. And then you have all these other playlists that fall in line.
If you
So
get
you
12
can,
million plays on a Spotify playlist, can I ask a ballpark of what that would pay?
sure, 12. So like depending on your split with your distro or whatever, you're getting like point. Every time I calculate it, it makes me sadder and sadder. You're getting like 1 to 3 tenths of a cent per play
Okay.
after you cut in distro and after whatever. That's with all the free accounts too that bring that down. So I mean, yeah, it adds up. It's allowed me to not it's allowed me to do music full time. It has
Mhm.
supplemented the touring, and when I'm home, I no longer have to work a side job. That is now my side job. Um and it does pile up nicely, and it allows you to, do the things that you'd like to do. Right now that's just like my little cash cow, so to speak, which is great, and will further, that project, and like I said, has provided me with enough comfort. But you never, like, I could have never guessed in a million years that that would have hit like that. And also at the same time, I only get like I said, 25,000 listens a day, only get like 6 or 7 followers on Spotify a day. It is
No shit,
creeping.
really?
It's creeping. It's a very passive listening experience on a lot of these playlists. You
Yeah.
can hit these playlists, but how many people are really listening to the song and going, "Oh, wait a minute, what is this? Let me save it." People are listening to this driving to work. They're
Yeah.
listening to it at work. They're hearing it at a coffee shop. That's not the case for every playlist,
Right.
but this particular thing, that kind of coffee house acoustic chill setting, is a very passive listen experience. Very
Yeah.
lucky, I'm very
That's
grateful for
interesting.
what it's created, but
I think
it's
that's
not
cool
like
to
the
hear.
blow up.
Yeah, it's cool to hear moments like that can still happen to bands where you can kind of, you can catch a little spark and get a
Sure.
little luck, and it can make your life a lot easier. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you think you talk about Spotify having kind of a passive listener
Or the
base,
playlists
or
at
just that
least.
playlist? Where have
Yeah.
you found the most active, most loving, most loyal listeners to exist besides live shows?
Yeah. I mean, those are definitely the live shows bring out the most ravenous people, that's for sure. I mean, Spotify has always been the bread and butter. I don't know how our listenership started, but it's been unbelievably consistent over the last, I guess, 4 or 5 years now. Um, and I think we have 35,000 followers on there now. So now it's like there's like a baseline of I know when we release something, it will at least get this many ears on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's like, all right, how do we make that pop again? Because you have to
Hmm.
continue that. It's like the monthlies will go up and they'll stabilize for a bit and then they go back down, and it's the same thing. It's just a number at some point. We played with bands with 500,000 monthlies, and they're not drawing any people to the shows. And then you have
Wow.
people who don't have nearly as many, um, who have an incredibly active fan base, and they're just selling out across the country. So it's like
Yeah.
the numbers are, it's easy to fudge shit, and it's like the numbers are just never gonna um fully be what they are, what
Yeah,
they
totally.
seem to be. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, yeah. It always seems like it has been. I mean, I think too, one thing I would tell bands is like it can be pretty discouraging to look at some of your metrics or your numbers. And I always say like don't let the data get you down or whatever.
Absolutely.
There's a band we play with all the time in the Midwest who has virtually no Spotify following, and they're one of the best bands in the whole Midwest, and they draw like they fill up
Yeah.
their shows. They're amazing. They sell a shitload of merch. So yeah, just because you're looking at, you think your numbers are feeble, definitely, yeah, don't let the data get you down, because it's
No,
all mostly a smoke and mirrors show at the end of the day anyway.
definitely. I mean, I've heard, I listen to a lot of or I'll have podcasts sent to me by my manager of, the owner of 30 Tigers distribution, talking about just album releases, and just I want to know about that stuff too. I want to be a student of the game. And he basically said, like, the monthly listeners, it might be the least important number out there, because it can be so deceiving.
Yeah.
And it is frustrating, for as many times as I've seen bands that we tour with, and I'm just like, everyone should know about this band, and they have far less of a following or a presence than us. I've seen just as many who have bigger followings, and I'm like, well, I don't get it. But that's all right. Again, living in the middle, living right in that middle ground is huge. It's a subjective art form at the end of the day. It's a wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, what's more subjective than art and music, really, you know?
Nothing. There's,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it like there's so much uncertainty in this business, and I think the advice that the most cliche yet the most solid advice is just sticking around. You know, that's the
Yep.
advice I give people, and that's the advice I've been getting for years, and that's the only thing that seems to consistently be working. You know, and
Sure.
it's always inspiring to see you guys out there doing it. It makes me feel like less of a weirdo. You know, that there's other people doing it and going for it.
Yeah.
And I just get so pumped when I run into you guys at a festival. A, because you're a great band, but B, because I feel like with I'm gonna sound like a real pretentious indie hipster douche here, but there to me that I see so much music on the circuit that is just so lightweight and safe, you know, just
Mm,
like right down the pipe. You know what the guy's gonna say the next line. You know what the lyrics gonna be. You know what the chord change is gonna be.
yeah.
You know, love song, and you just and you can make a career off that, I
Yep.
guess, being like a carbon copy of like 1,000 people that came before you and 10,000 people that will come after you. But I feel like you guys legitimately sound like your own thing. You take risks. There's corners to the songs. Obviously, there's great melodies and everything, but there's also surprises and fucking
Sure.
weird time signatures. And it's a relief to see bands doing it full time who are really putting the work in and you know,
Appreciate that.
borrowing from some of your influences, but
Sure.
also doing your own thing and taking risks sonically. So, you know,
I,
respect.
I appreciate that. I've always said when I write Mo Lauda songs, it's a pop song with a wrench in it. It's gonna be something weird. It might be like the most classic chord progression, but one of those chords is gonna get weird.
Oh, I love a weird
You
chord. I love
know,
a
yeah,
B7
yeah,
right before the
yeah,
chorus or
yeah.
yeah.
And I've learned so much from just listening over the years of transitionally just shortening one measure or doing something twice, just like these small little. If you listen to our last one or this next one, especially, it's rare that any transition happens the same way twice.
That's cool.
It's just, yeah, I love those little nuggets in music and those little ear candy moments where you turn it up in your car and you're like, yo, this part, right,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, like that is I like that shit in music, and I try to create that for other people. You know,
Yeah,
we all do. We all try to create that for other people.
that's like going that extra like 2-3% at the end where you could be lazy and just be like, oh, this
Sure.
sounds cool, we'll just go straight to the chorus from here. But hey,
Yep.
what if we waited a hit and it was kind of
Mm-hmm.
off time and the chord was slightly nuanced and maybe there's a weird bendy in there that makes you be like, what
Totally.
was that on purpose? And then boom, melodic chorus right in your
There you
gullet.
go. You
So
get it. You get it. Yeah.
it's
It keeps
fun,
it
man.
fun too. Yeah, it keeps it fun.
It
Keeps it
keeps it
fresh.
it's fun, huh? I mean, it's easy to get down in the world, whatever.
Sure.
Everybody struggles, you know. Even the most charismatic people who look like they have all their shit figured out there, everyone's got some shit that they're working through. So but
Absolutely.
it's cool to be a person, man. I mean, flying around on a giant rock in the universe and you know,
I
we all won the lottery in some respect to just
yeah.
exist and breathe air. So it's cool.
I agree. Finding that fun in it. You know, we've been talking so much about the business end of it and how important this album cycle is. And yeah, you want to give your own art the amount of due that you think it deserves. And sometimes that's putting money behind it and that's building a team around it. And it's easy to get in that headspace and forget how much fucking fun it is to
Yeah,
make
dude.
music and why you started doing it. And we've been starting to jam a lot again,
Mm,
late
yeah,
night, just some drinks in us and just after the bars close or whatever, let's go jam. And that brings you back. Like,
that's beautiful.
it's not thinking, all right, is this song gonna hit? Should we double the guitars there? Is that even the right tone for it? No, it's just playing music with each other. And
Yeah,
I want to bring
beautiful.
that back. Yeah.
Hey, and maybe our job these days as people, maybe our job, I'm not even just talking about music, maybe it is to have fun. Because if you think about civilization and humanity, even like 50, 100 years ago, you're just trying to not die, really. You're trying to
Totally.
not get eaten by a lion or a tiger. You're trying to
We
not
have
cut
it
your
pretty good.
toe
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
die from because you don't have penicillin,
Yeah.
or you're on a boat and you get scurvy and you're like, oh well, I'm 28. I guess I'll be dead now from
Yep.
scurvy. So this is like the first time we've had like the luxury of time and the luxury to ponder our own existential crises. And I
Yeah.
don't think our DNA and our brain chemistry is quite ready for the amount of time we have, because we're not really worried about survival as much. But maybe it is our job now to
Yeah.
enjoy life and have as much fun as possible. Maybe not, but maybe there's something in there.
I like that take. I really do. That's interesting to think about. I remember when we were touring, we did the West Coast in the spring, and we were driving. I forget what exact route takes you. It's basically it's the Oregon Trail, but now it's a highway. And
Nice.
just on my phone, just reading all about that and just looking around me and thinking people were just doing this on foot with their families and in a fucking Conestoga wagon and just
Oh
dying
man.
and just got to keep going, like leave burying children and just roll because they knew they had to just keep going. It's like we have it so good, and it's
Yeah,
easy to forget that. And
dude, you
like you
get you
said,
get
too much time to think, too much time to
you get
feel.
dysentery now, and it's funny. You get dysentery on the Oregon Trail, you're dead.
Yeah, was not funny back then. Yeah, it's
Unreal.
it's it's wild to think about, but I really like that take you had. I'm gonna take that with me.
Oh, well, I'm honored, dude. Been awesome talking to you. I love you. You're an amazing dude, and you've
Thank
got
you,
a
man.
great mind, and I love how hard you guys work.
You as
And
well. You
this has
as
been one of
well.
the most fun pods I've done in a while. I love yeah, I feel very inspired to go do a bunch of shit now. So
Hell yeah, that's
can't wait
that's
to
the
see you
goal,
in
man.
real life.
Absolutely, we'll be seeing each other soon, I'm sure.
Hell
You're
yeah.
dogging it just like us.
Yeah. All right,
Got it.
Jordan. Much love, dude. Thanks for coming on, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks for having me, man. Great to see you. Talk to you. Bye,
Awesome,
brother.
dude.